Imagine a moment so electrifying that it forces you to question everything you thought you knew about success, fairness, and the true cost of ambition. Picture a man, Marcus Reed, who built his empire from nothing, defying every obstacle thrown his way. Now, imagine that very man standing in front of millions, daring to expose a system built to favor a select few. What would you do if you were in his shoes? How far would you go to rewrite the rules when the odds are stacked against you? In today's world, where headlines often paint success as a matter of luck or privilege, Marcus's story is anything but ordinary. He is not here to deliver a fairy tale of overnight triumph. No, his journey is a raw, unfiltered testament to resilience, a relentless battle fought in the shadows of a system designed to keep the underdogs at bay. As you listen, ask yourself, have you ever felt that the deck is stacked unfairly against you? Do you believe that hard work alone can overcome the invisible barriers in our society? From a humble beginning in a modest neighborhood to the high-stakes arena of tech innovation, Marcus Reed's life has been a roller coaster of relentless drive, sacrifice, and uncompromising grit. He wasn't born with a silver spoon. Every victory was earned in the crucible of struggle. And now, as he steps into the glaring spotlight of national television, he faces the ultimate test, a televised interview designed to dissect every aspect of his hard-won success. But what happens when the narrative they try to force upon you is nothing more than a myth, a convenient story meant to distract from a much harsher truth? As you watch, consider this. When a black entrepreneur reaches the pinnacle of success, is it celebrated as a triumph of merit, or dismissed as an anomaly, a token achievement born out of a system desperate to appear progressive? Can genuine innovation and unwavering determination really overcome the deep-rooted biases that persist in every corner of our society? And more importantly, if you're one of those who have ever felt marginalized, what message does Marcus's story send to you? The stakes couldn't be higher. Every word, every pause, and every defiant look from Marcus is a challenge, a direct call to all of us to examine the fairness of the world around us. Imagine sitting in his shoes, under the intense glare of the cameras, knowing that millions are watching and that your very existence is being scrutinized. Would you remain silent, or would you seize the moment to confront the uncomfortable truths that everyone else is too afraid to acknowledge? As the tension mounts and the interview unfolds, you'll be drawn into a narrative where success isn't measured by conventional standards but by the courage to defy a broken system. Throughout his powerful monologue, on-screen prompts will challenge you with questions like, do you believe that true merit exists? Or is the system rigged against those who dare to dream? These aren't just questions, they're invitations for you to look inside and reflect on your own experiences and beliefs. So, before we dive deeper into Marcus Reed's story, ask yourself, what would you do if you were forced to fight for every inch of progress? Could you stand up and demand a level playing field, even when the odds are overwhelmingly stacked against you? And if you ever felt that the system was designed to keep you down, wouldn't you want to know what it takes to break those chains? Stay with us, because in the next few minutes, we're going to peel back the layers of a narrative that is as inspiring as it is incendiary, a story that challenges you to rethink what it means to truly succeed. This isn't just a tale about one man's journey, it's a rallying cry for anyone who has ever dared to dream of a fairer, more just world. Are you ready to question the status quo? Are you ready to join the fight for real change? Then hold on tight, Marcus Reed's story is about to begin, and it's one you won't want to miss. Marcus Reed's day had started like any other. As the CEO of Technova, a company that had just clinched a multi-million-dollar government defense contract after outbidding some of the most established players in the industry, he was no stranger to success. Yet despite the accolades and recognition that came with decades of relentless work, there was an undercurrent of unease in his heart. It all began with an unexpected email, a short, formal message from the producers of the Daily Forum, one of the country's most watched talk shows. They had requested that Marcus appear as a guest on an upcoming segment about diversity in business. In the past, such platforms had fleetingly acknowledged black entrepreneurs only to swiftly move on to the next trending topic. But this time, something felt distinctly different. Marcus was well aware of the typical narrative. Too often, mainstream media would suddenly remember that black entrepreneurs existed, featuring them for a few minutes of applause before relegating their stories to the sidelines. Yet here he was being summoned not as a token success, but as the leading voice in a conversation about the true nature of diversity and merit. Even though Teknova's breakthrough encryption system and multimillion-dollar contract were the fruits of years of dedication, Marcus hesitated before accepting the invitation. Something in the show's angle did not sit well with him. His trusted assistant, Ava, quickly sensed his reluctance. "Marcus," she asked in a soft yet firm tone, "are you sure you want to do this? You know how these shows work, they celebrate success only to later tear it down. On-screen text, is the system really fair?" Marcus leaned back in his chair and offered a measured response. "I'll handle it, Ava. Besides, national exposure is an opportunity to set the record straight. Let us see what angle they're pushing." Deep down, he knew the game all too well. If the interview was a setup designed to diminish his hard-won success, he would not be an easy target. The morning of the interview, Marcus arrived at the sleek KXN studios in Los Angeles. The green room was a cool, sterile environment each guest treated as just another transaction in a relentless media machine. A young producer greeted him with a curt nod, handing over instructions with little more than a perfunctory "Thank you for coming, Mr. Reed. We'll mic you up in a few minutes, no small talk, no warm-up." Even as Marcus settled into a makeup chair, where an assistant applied powder with practiced indifference, he couldn't help but notice the wall monitor. It flashed the live broadcast schedule. After a panel on celebrity scandals and a cooking demo, the next segment would be the black tech boom, talent or special treatment. A surge of determination replaced his initial apprehension. They had already set the narrative. They wanted to frame his success as nothing more than a product of a special advantage rather than the result of years of relentless work. The set of the Daily Forum was meticulously designed to appear inviting. Soft blue hues mingled with gold accents, and a sleek glass coffee table sat prominently between the host's chair and the guest's area. Discreet cameras hovered in the background like silent sentinels, ready to capture every gesture and nuance. Marcus adjusted his suit jacket and took his seat across from Veronica Stone, the show's lead anchor. Veronica was a seasoned journalist, known for her tough, incisive questions. Her smile, though courteous, never quite reached her eyes, a detail that did not escape Marcus's notice. "Marcus Reed," Veronica began, her tone smooth and measured as she introduced him to the live audience. "CEO of Teknova, a true American success story." Marcus offered a polite nod. "Thank you for having me," he replied. Veronica wasted no time. "Let us jump right in. Your company recently secured a $200 million government contract by outbidding some of the biggest tech giants out there. That's quite an achievement." Marcus recognized the pattern immediately: build him up first, only to deconstruct his narrative later. "It was a long process," Marcus explained carefully, "but we worked relentlessly. We developed a state-of-the-art encryption system that outperformed our competitors. No shortcuts, just hard work and innovation." Veronica crossed her legs and continued, "Some have called your technology groundbreaking, yet there are critics who argue that Technova benefited from federal diversity incentives, giving you an unfair edge in landing such contracts. On-screen text, do you think Marcus is right? For a moment, Marcus paused. He had heard this argument before. The insinuation was clear: when a black entrepreneur succeeds, it is often dismissed as a result of special treatment rather than merit. I've heard that argument, he said with measured calm. When a black entrepreneur wins, it's labeled as special treatment. But when a legacy firm, run by the same families for generations, secures those same deals, no one questions it. A subtle tension filled the studio as Veronica maintained her composure, though off-camera, producers exchanged wary glances. So you're saying that race played no part in your success? She pressed. Consider this: when SpaceX secured NASA contracts, was it because Elon Musk met some diversity quota? And when Blue Origin landed government deals, was Jeff Bezos' background the deciding factor? Do we only scrutinize those who look like you? On-screen text, is the system rigged against some? Marcus folded his hands on the table and replied, I believe diversity programs help level the playing field. But the truth is, the playing field was never level to begin with. I built my company from scratch without the luxury of generational wealth or exclusive networks. His voice resonated with quiet determination. Veronica flipped through her cue cards and then asked, surely, though, you must have received some help along the way. Perhaps a mentor or a program that gave you an extra push. On-screen text, do you think help was given? Marcus's eyes softened with memories of long nights and relentless work. Help did come, but not in the form of handouts. I worked 3 jobs while earning my engineering degree, and there were nights I slept in my office because I couldn't afford rent. That help was in the form of grit and perseverance, not preferential treatment. As the conversation advanced, Veronica continued, some argue that black entrepreneurs today have more opportunities than ever before. Affirmative action, minority business grants, and government incentives are all in place to open doors that were once firmly shut. What is your take on that? On-screen text, is it really about opportunities? Marcus leaned forward, elbows resting on his knees. You see, when a black business owner succeeds, the conversation quickly turns to what programs helped us. But when a white startup, backed by old money or influential connections, reaches the same heights, the narrative is completely different. Success isn't a lottery, it's the result of relentless work and determination. A heavy silence followed his words, one that seemed to ripple through the studio. Veronica's meticulously maintained smile wavered for a moment before she responded, that's an interesting perspective, Marcus. But some say that your story is overhyped by the media, suggesting that black entrepreneurs get far too much attention compared to their white counterparts. How do you respond to that? Marcus chuckled quietly and, glancing at the cameras, said, do you really think that if I weren't exceptional at what I do, I'd be here today? The question isn't about extra attention, it's about the truth that I achieved this despite an entire system designed to keep me on the margins. On-screen text, do you agree with Marcus? Veronica shifted slightly, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. But isn't it possible that in today's media-driven world, your story is used as a marketing tool, a narrative that both inspires and divides? She countered, her tone measured yet probing. Marcus's gaze grew steely. Marketing is one thing, but reality is another. I built Technova from the ground up. I spent countless nights working, often sleeping in the office because I couldn't afford rent, all while juggling multiple jobs to fund my education. My achievements are not the result of any special treatment, they are the product of pure, unyielding effort. On-screen text, is hard work enough? Veronica's eyes narrowed slightly as she asked, "So, Marcus, do you believe that your success is proof that the playing field is level?" Her question was laced with skepticism, hinting at an underlying doubt. Marcus leaned back and replied, "Not at all. My success is proof that I had to fight twice as hard just to earn a seat at the table. It isn't that the system is fair, it's that I was forced to overcome obstacles that many others never even see." On-screen text, "Can you overcome the odds?" The conversation grew more impassioned as Veronica shifted tactics. "But some argue that in our current economy, success is simply a matter of hard work. Race should not be a factor. What do you say to those who believe that?" she asked, her tone almost conciliatory yet challenging. Marcus's eyes locked with hers, and his voice dropped to a measured, intense tone. "Let me put it this way, if one person escapes a burning building, do you tell them the fire wasn't dangerous? My success doesn't prove that the system is fair, it only proves that I was willing to fight through the flames." We still see black entrepreneurs denied loans at twice the rate of white business owners. Venture capital still overwhelmingly favors white-owned startups. And every time we succeed, we're forced to prove that we deserve it. That, my friends, is not meritocracy, it's a rigged game. On-screen text, "What would you do in Marcus's shoes?" Veronica, now visibly struggling to steer the conversation back to neutrality, asked, "So, are you saying that the entire system is designed to work against you?" Her tone was both curious and challenging. Marcus nodded slowly. "Yes, I am. The system is built on unequal opportunities. A mediocre white CEO can make a series of disastrous decisions and still find redemption, while a brilliant black entrepreneur like me is expected to be flawless. When we slip, it's seen as proof that we don't belong." On-screen text, "Is it really that different?" Veronica took a deep breath and then said, "Let's talk about public perception. Some say that the media exaggerates your story to fit a narrative that benefits a few. They claim that the constant spotlight on your struggles creates a myth, rather than reflecting reality. How do you address those claims?" On-screen text, "Do media narratives distort the truth?" Marcus allowed himself a brief, bitter chuckle before responding. "The media loves a good story, but my story isn't a myth, it's my life. I built Technova while sleeping on cold floors and working 3 jobs. My success wasn't handed to me on a silver platter. And if the media chooses to use my story as a symbol of the larger fight for fairness, then so be it." On-screen text, "Can you relate to this struggle?" The dialogue continued with both sides exchanging pointed questions and answers. Veronica asked, "What do you say to those who insist that your narrative is used to divide rather than unite? That every time you speak, it creates a rift in an already polarized society?" On-screen text, "Does your story unite or divide?" Marcus's response was measured but firm. "I'm not here to divide. I'm here to reveal a truth that many are too afraid to acknowledge. When I talk about the obstacles I've faced, I'm not asking for pity, I'm asking for recognition that the system is broken. And until we confront that truth, we'll never achieve true equality." On-screen text, "Will you stand up for fairness?" Veronica then touched on the topic of backlash. "After your interview, you received both support and strong opposition, even some vague warnings. Does that not concern you?" she asked, her tone softening slightly. Marcus merely shrugged. "Of course, I expected a mix of reactions. When you speak boldly about issues that many would prefer remain hidden, there will always be dissent. I received support, I received criticism, and yes, I even got a few vague warnings. But that is just a part of the consequence of speaking the truth. On-screen text, would you risk it all for the truth? The conversation's intensity built to a crescendo as Veronica continued, "So, what is the ultimate solution, Marcus? In a society that has been built to favor some over others, how do we achieve real, lasting fairness?" On-screen text, what is the path to fairness? Marcus's eyes shone with determination. Real change isn't about playing by the current rules, it's about rewriting them. It's about leveling the playing field so that every person, regardless of their background, has a fair chance to succeed. I'm not asking for handouts or for anyone to lower their standards. I'm asking for a system where hard work truly equals opportunity. On-screen text, do you believe in change? Veronica's voice grew softer, tinged with a reluctant respect. Marcus, your story is more than just about personal triumph, it's a reflection of a larger struggle. But isn't there a danger that by focusing so much on these disparities, we risk alienating those who might otherwise join us in the fight for change? Marcus leaned forward, his tone resolute yet earnest. Not at all. I believe that when you lay bare the truth that a brilliant black entrepreneur must fight twice as hard to get a seat at the table, you force everyone to question the status quo. It's not about blaming any one group, it's about demanding accountability from a system that has been skewed for far too long. On-screen text, will you demand accountability? The studio fell into a reflective silence as Marcus's words sank in. The conversation had transformed from a typical television interview into a powerful dialogue about fairness, merit, and the cost of speaking out. Veronica then addressed the viewers directly. We've heard tonight about the struggles, the hard-fought victories, and the undeniable inequities that persist in our society. Marcus Reed has shared not just his journey, but a challenge to each one of us, one that asks us to examine our own beliefs about what it means to succeed. On-screen text, what do you think? Is the system fair? Marcus, now visibly more composed yet still brimming with intensity, added, my journey is not just my own, it belongs to everyone who has ever been told they don't belong, to everyone who has had to fight against overwhelming odds just to be seen. I'm here not to boast about my achievements, but to challenge you to rethink the very nature of success. Is it about playing by the rules of a broken system, or is it time we rewrote those rules altogether? On-screen text, should we rewrite the rules? Veronica concluded, thank you, Marcus Reed, for sharing your story with us tonight. Your words have struck a chord and sparked a conversation that extends far beyond the confines of this studio. It's clear that your journey is far from over, and your message will resonate long after this broadcast. On-screen text, what will you do after hearing this? As the cameras slowly faded and the studio lights dimmed, Marcus sat quietly in his chair, absorbing the impact of the conversation. Outside, the world was already abuzz. Social media erupted with hashtags, debates, and comments from viewers across the nation. Text messages, notifications, and calls flooded in testimony to the fact that his words had ignited a spark. Ava, ever by his side, broke the reflective silence as she scrolled through the incoming messages. Marcus, look at this, she said, half amused and half awestruck. People are calling you a trailblazer, a voice of a new era in business. They're inspired by your story, even as some continue to challenge it. On-screen text, do you stand with Marcus? Marcus allowed himself a small, resolute smile. Controversy isn't my goal, it's about speaking the truth. If that means ruffling some feathers along the way, then so be it. His tone was steady as he continued, yes, there were warnings and pushback. But those are just side effects of challenging a system that favors some while marginalizing others. In the days that followed, the impact of Marcus's interview only grew. Headlines emerged on cable news channels and online outlets, some heralding him as a hero, others dismissing him as divisive. Yet, amid the clamor, one thing was clear: Marcus Reed had become a symbol of resilience and determination. He wasn't just another entrepreneur, he was a man who had dared to expose the truth about a broken system, and in doing so, he had ignited a nationwide dialogue about fairness, merit, and accountability. Back in his office, with the Los Angeles skyline glowing through floor-to-ceiling windows, Marcus reflected on the whirlwind of the past 72 hours. It had been a roller coaster of praise, backlash, and mixed reactions, including a few vague warnings that barely warranted a mention. For him, it was all part of the cost of speaking boldly and honestly in a world where many preferred comfortable lies over inconvenient truths. Ava re-entered his office with a file in hand, her eyes bright with both excitement and a trace of concern. "Marcus, we just received an offer from a major network," she announced. "They want you to do a televised special, a one-on-one deep dive about race, business, and the broken system. They say it could be a turning point in the conversation. On-screen text: would you take the next step?" Marcus raised an eyebrow and studied the proposal carefully. After a long pause, he responded, "Tell them I'll do it, but on my terms. If the system is going to thrust me into the spotlight, then I'm going to control the narrative from now on." His voice was calm and resolute. In that moment, Marcus Reed knew that his viral interview was not merely another internet controversy, it was a reckoning, a turning point that forced every one of us to confront uncomfortable truths about opportunity and fairness. As the day drew to a close and the echoes of the interview slowly settled into a reflective hum, Marcus sat by his window, gazing out at the twinkling city lights. He thought of the young man he once was, the kid from a modest neighborhood who had to fight for every inch of success, who had watched doors slam in his face while others strolled through effortlessly. Now, he was at the center of a national debate, and his story had become a beacon for everyone who had ever been told they didn't belong. Before signing off for the day, Marcus turned his gaze directly toward the camera, as if speaking not just to his staff or the network executives, but to every single viewer at home. "Now," he said, his tone both calm and impassioned, "I want you to consider this: in a system designed to favor some and stifle others, is true merit even possible? Or must we all come together and rewrite the rules that keep so many of us down? On-screen text: will you help change the game?" His final words echoed powerfully throughout the silent room, leaving a challenge that resonated deeply with everyone watching. Veronica's closing remarks on the Daily Forum had already underscored that the conversation was far from over. Marcus Reed's journey was only beginning, and his message would continue to spark debates and inspire change across the nation. If you believe fairness is worth fighting for, leave your thoughts below. Together we can change the game. So, what do you think? Is true merit achievable in a system stacked against so many, or is it time for all of us to rewrite the rules entirely? If you believe that fairness is worth fighting for, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Together, we can change the game. And don't forget to subscribe for the next video where we dive even deeper into the battle for equality and opportunity in America.